one of the things I wish I had done was I wish I had actually found out about being a Scrum Master slash Agile coach earlier on.
Mm,
Because, and I say that because I feel that I wasted quite a lot of time, but I wouldn't call it waste. When I think about it critically, I think it was preparing me. I would say preparing me for this role as an Agile coach.
Hello and welcome to Career Spotlight with Vanessa Ajimai. It's been a while. So if you're new to this channel, basically we just have people on here from all walks of life come and share some of their career choices and decisions that they've made to get to where they're currently at or where they're going. And today I'm so happy to be able to introduce to you Pamela Ayodele, who is an Agile coach. So I'm not going to say much about Pamela, but she'll talk more and you'll get to know exactly what she does is all about. Hey, Pamela.
Hey Vanessa, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for taking time out to come and share your career journey, especially on such a sunny day.
I know it's really hot outside today.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go straight into it. So can you tell us a bit about like kind of what your journey has been like to becoming an agile coach?
Yes, so mine was a very interesting one because it was born out of necessity as opposed to most people that have, the plan to become a Scrum Master or an Agile coach or anything like that. So mine was quite interesting and slightly unconventional. It
Mm,
was born out of need. So I used to work for a fintech, a payments organization, and it was purely waterfall. And halfway through the project, it was halted, it was stopped, and because things were just not working. So the decision was basically, let's stop this project, let's take a step back, let's look at what's not working, and let's basically just start from scratch. So that happened, and as part of that transformation and as part of that decision, a lot of the roles changed. So it was decided that we would move from a waterfall way of working to a more agile way of working, and with that, a lot of the roles actually changed. So that's where my role changed. I used to be a planner, and
mm,
that automatically meant that working with the dev team meant I had to change my role from that of a planner to a hybrid scrum master slash coach. And that's where my journey actually started, and redefining the team. And it was a very painful journey because because as you can imagine, on a Friday we went home being whatever profession you were at that point in time, to
mhm.
coming back on Monday to be totally different and everything. So well, that was how my agile journey started. And to be very honest, it's been a very bumpy but smooth journey, and lots of learning, and I'm
Yeah,
really happy I made that decision at that point in time.
great. So when we're talking about agile, we hear it a lot, but like in terms of what your experience, what does it mean?
Right, it's how long is a piece of string, to be very honest, because I don't think anyone can adequately define what agile means without going into a long-winded explanation, because agile means different things to different people and different organization,
Mm,
unfortunately. And I think we're in a time where agile is going through its own form of rebirth, if I may put it that way, because there are lots of definitions out there. But for me, when I look at the term agile, I look at it in terms of business agility. How do we, first and foremost, introduce new ways of working whereby we are more effective, we are more efficient, and we're able to respond to our customer needs in a very nimble and very short time to market manner kind of thing. So, agile for various organizations mean various things. So there's really no one definition. I mean, I could give you the textbook definition, but it's
Yeah.
that is just what it is, textbook. So
Hmm.
it's more of business agility to me as opposed to being agile, because that's an umbrella term that better portrays what you're trying to, the outcomes you're trying to achieve as an organization.
Cool. So, with it being so broad and meaning different things to different people, what kind of approach do you take as an agile coach when you go to different environments?
Right, good question. Very good question, because that's one of the tricky things about being an agile coach.
Yeah.
Every environment presents challenges differently. So the
Mhm.
first thing I do is observe. And one of the superpowers of an agile coach is the power of observation and the power of silence.
Mm,
Because when you get there, you need to understand what the issues are, what the problems, challenges, impediments, what is actually working well and what is not working well. Because you can imagine going somewhere for the first time and all you're thinking about is making radical changes. One, it's going to disrupt the flow that already exists within the team dynamic. So you always have to think about what is currently working well and begin to make your decisions based on, where the gaps are and where improvements are actually required. Because change is gradual. It's not something you should enforce on people, because
mm,
everyone comes to the realization at different times. So for me as an agile coach, the first thing I do is observe, introduce myself as an agile coach. I'm not a threat, which most people immediately they hear the word agile coach automatically get sort of like defensive and their backs are up and everything. But in all honesty, I think it's all about getting people to actually explore other ways of working and explore other ways of doing things so that they become very efficient. And basically, we all want outcomes, don't we? The whole reason why we're in business is to make money. So, how do we make money? How do we respond to our customers? How do we satisfy our customers? So, if we need to get to Z from A, we need to go through the letters of the alphabet. So you don't get to A from Z, you don't get to Z from A, you get to B first. So that
yeah,
intermediary is what I tend to work with.
sure. Thank you. What's been your experience with some of the agile frameworks?
Right. Oh, the agile frameworks,
Mm,
the agile frameworks, the agile frameworks. That's a very interesting one and a very good question as well.
mm,
The agile is an umbrella term, right? And under the agile umbrella, you have different frameworks. You've got Scrum, which is one of the most popular frameworks that everyone knows about. So hence the word Scrum Master. Yeah, yeah. Then you've got Kanban, you've got XP, you've got Disciplined Agile. So you've got quite a few frameworks. You've got Lean Management. You've got quite a lot of frameworks under the umbrella term Agile, right? So what I usually say is I'm quite framework agnostic in my approach. You
mm,
get to an organization or you get to a team, what works best for the team? And usually it's usually a combination of frameworks that would work for a particular team, because some teams might benefit from extreme programming, which is also an agile framework. But at the same time, you might call on some Kanban principles and some lean management principles and some Scrum principles. So it's never a one trick pony or one box fits everyone. So just go to the team, assess, have an honest discussion with the team, and you basically be able to tell which framework or multiple frameworks that you can apply for a particular team.
okay. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced throughout your career, and how have you overcome them over time?
Ooh, biggest challenges. people people are always the biggest challenges you would face,
Oh,
because to be very honest, people are the biggest challenges, because systems are in place. Who puts
mm,
systems in place? It's people.
Yeah.
Processes are in place. Who put processes in place? People. Decision makers. Who makes decisions? People. So the biggest challenges usually is people. It's either people don't want to change their ways of working because they're very comfortable in the way they work, or they don't see any reason why they should change, or they're skeptical. But at the same time, you also have people that are quite very strong agile proponents as well, where they are ready to like make all those changes. So usually my biggest challenge is people. And how do you overcome people? You can't overcome people, in all honesty. You just have to look for ways in which you can basically how will I put it now? So it's not necessarily about forcing people to change their minds. It's about showing them the evidence and the reason why they need to work in a new way or in a different way, and exploring the options together. So that collaboration is really, really important. Understanding where their pain points are and why they're having the pain points. Because in all honesty, you're not going to be able to not all pain points are there to be solved. Some will never be solved, and you have to be okay with that as a team. So biggest impediment usually is people.
Yeah.
Biggest challenge, yeah.
I think I spoke to someone who came from a service management perspective, and they were saying something very similar as well. So it
Yeah.
all aligns. In your career, what has been the most rewarding aspect so far?
The most rewarding. People as well.
So it's been the most challenging, but it's also been the most
Yes,
rewarding.
yes. Because without people, I can't do what I do.
Mm,
Without people, I cannot influence, affect, and implement new ways of working.
mm,
Without people, I cannot confidently deliver on my outcomes. So it's people as well. So as much as people are challenging to work with, and people are very challenging in their ways of thinking and everything, but at the same time, when you get into a new organization or you start a new role and you can see the transition from where people were, and then give it time, because time is really important in the 6 months, and you can actually see the change in delivery, in change in outcomes, change in everything, team dynamics, change in basically being able to meet the sprint goals, change in everything. Then I think that for me is very, very satisfactory and very rewarding as well, in terms of my role as an agile coach.
cool. When we look at upskilling, what kind of things do you partake in to stay up to date with uh, the current like trends and I guess to develop more in what you're doing?
Oh, good question. So, upskilling is one of my favorite topics, because if you're not learning, you're dying. That's my saying, and that's my opinion, to be very honest. And as an agile coach, you always have to be on ball in terms of knowledge. So there are many things I do to be able to upskill myself. One of the easy things is read. The internet is your friend. There's so much resources out there in terms of your personal learnings. Then also, I back my knowledge with certifications as well. So I would do certifications that appeal to my learning style and to the way, to the direction in which I want to go. Attending seminars also really, really helps my knowledge, because one of the things that this does is basically expose you to people that are industry gurus, that have been in the industry way longer than you, and they are basically releasing nuggets of truth, and you're thinking, yes, I'm basically here to receive that. I'm here for that. And that also will help your thinking and your ways of working, because there might be things that you might be struggling with in your personal career or your growth that, all of a sudden somebody would unlock that for you. Then another thing is to get buddies, people that are like-minded like you, and basically learn off each other as well. So there are many things I do, and you cannot overemphasize the power of mentorship as well, because when you have a mentor, basically you have somebody that holds you to account on your learning journey. because within the agile space there are many things you can do. You can either go on the, being a product coach, which is a whole different journey, being an agile coach, which is a whole different journey, being a professional scrum master, which is a whole different journey, Kanban, so many things. So you make your path and decide which way you want to go. And for me, being an agile coach is it, and whatever it takes for me to be able to get there, I am pursuing it.
Nice. What qualities do you think one would need in order to succeed as an agile coach?
What qualities? Right. So this is quite an interesting question because I feel and I really believe that anyone could be an agile coach, right?
Mm,
So whatever your personal temperament is, you can work it into your profession. You don't have to be a specific way to be an agile coach, because you would always find somebody, or you would always find people that would be able to learn from you, and you would be able to benefit from having that interaction with. But some of the things that I would advocate for is, one, you have to be a very good listener. You have to be a very, very good listener. And number two, you have to be able to basically be silent, know when to be quiet, and know when to speak, especially when you are faced with people that are not necessarily in tune with your line of thinking and the way you work. You need to understand their perspective. I didn't say agree. You don't necessarily have to agree with them, but you need to understand their journey, because usually you would find out that such people have had negative experiences with either previous agile coaches or working within an agile transformation environment, which did not go very well. So that also has deterred them from wanting to partake in being within the agile transformation. So, and number two, you have to be really curious. You have to be very curious and be bold to ask questions, because you would need to be able to find out where things are going right and going wrong. And how do you do that? You need to be able to ask questions. And another thing is, you need to be empathetic, because sometimes things happen, right? Things happen and your team will probably be down or whatever the situation may be. You need to be empathetic and know when to say things and when not to say things, and to be able to relate to other people's experiences. So being an agile coach is like being not to be patronizing, but it's almost like being a parent, because you've got a group of people that you need to work cohesively with, and they need to work cohesively with each other. And at the same time, they need to learn new skills, improve, and deliver on a certain outcome. And that takes a lot of patience. So patience is one of those things you need as well to be an agile coach. You To be an agile coach, the technical knowledge, or the knowledge of it, is one thing, but also having soft skills. The soft skills for me are way more important, because there are a lot of things you can do to improve your personal knowledge in being an agile coach. But those soft skills are what I think really makes or breaks an agile coach, because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you are rude, disrespectful, and very belittling to people, then you're not going to get very far with the people you're working with.
okay. So your journey to becoming an agile coach was birthed out of necessity. What if there's someone listening or watching and feel, oh, I quite like the sound of becoming an agile coach? What kind of advice would you give them into like maybe entry point in?
Right, very good question, because
Mhm.
that's one thing I have really thought about and very long and hard, right? I personally would not advocate for somebody to start their journey as an agile coach, because you
Mhm.
need to understand the basic principles of either being a scrum master, a product owner, or whatever that is for you. Because being an agile coach, I mean, it's let me put it this way. There is a slight difference between being an agile coach and a scrum master. An agile coach, a scrum master is a team coach, right? It's a team coach. So you're there coaching at the team level, ensuring and doing all the Scrum Mastery stuff and everything. And as a product owner, as an agile, as a Scrum Master, you would definitely need some product management knowledge. So it would be really good for you to also get some knowledge around product management. But if I were to give somebody an advice in terms of pursuing a career within, the agile space and everything, I think I would say start from the very beginning, start from
Mm.
the basics, start from initially being a scrum master, getting industry experience, getting to work with teams, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, do your certifications if you like, because there's always this contention again with certified, no certified kind of thing, whatever floats your boat in terms of certification. If that's your thing, then I get some certification to basically solidify your knowledge. But what I would say is start from the very beginning and don't hold back, because you would make lots of mistakes, which is fine because that's how you learn. And that would be my sincere advice, somebody wanting to start off their career within, the agile industry and everything.
Great, thanks. And the certifications, is it specific to Agile, or the type of certifications that people can look
Yeah,
to
I
do?
mean, for to be a Scrum Master, you've got the Scrum Master certifications. You have quite a few certifying bodies,
Mm.
and I don't know if I'm allowed to mention them and everything. You have a few certifying bodies that you can,
Okay.
be a Scrum Master through. The same thing with product owner. It's literally the same. So, for example, I did the Scrum Alliance certification. So there are different ways in which you can get certified as a Scrum Master or as a product owner. Then there are also different routes, and that is a different route into being an Agile coach as well, because you have different routes in
Mm.
which you can pursue to be different things. So you can have, like for me, you can do the IC Agile certification and all those kind of things as well. But you have to start from somewhere. I would advocate start off being a Scrum Master, then look up the different routes in which you want to, because you might utterly hate it, you might not like it
Mm.
and everything. So before you start investing time, money, and efforts, I would advocate that you start off being a Scrum Master initially, or a product owner, whichever one you want to be.
Okay. What do you think sets you apart from others in your field?
Oh, good question. That's a question I should ask my colleagues, to be very honest. Good question. Good question. I think it's my human-centered approach. To be very honest, I think it's my human-centered approach, because my focus is human-centric and data-driven.
Mm.
So if I'm going to have a conversation about anything, then I need data, because usually you find out that opinions are very subjective. You think you're doing well, another person's telling you, no, you're not doing well. You get into an argument about it between who's doing well and who's not doing well. But if you have data and facts to be able to back some of your, evidence, then you'd be able to have, that in itself has neutralized the ability for somebody to either deny or agree. You can have a conversation about whatever it is. So for me, it's my human centered approach, because I believe in people being safe, secure, and being able to express themselves in a way that they would not feel unappreciated, number one. And then we can begin to have this conversation based on data. So I think for me, that's what probably sets me apart in my approach.
Nice. How do you define success in your career, and how have your goals changed over time?
Success is very personal, because
Mm.
what success means to me is totally different from what success means to another person. For me, success means I am able to continue to perform at a high level continually, irrespective of which organization or industry I find myself in. It's being able to adapt in a way that I am not basically disadvantaging anyone. So success is very, very, it's quite a very open-ended question,
Mm.
and ultimately for me is to be a certified coach. which is in itself, will I call that success? For me, it's another aspect of my life that I've been able to successfully achieve something in. But
Yeah.
overall, yeah, success is quite broad, isn't it?
Yeah. Nice. So sometimes it can be quite busy working in these environments. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance?
Oh, good
Yeah.
question there. Oh, work-life balance.
Yeah.
So, work, and that's one of the things that I am really, really passionate about, work-life
Mm.
balance, because they say all work and no play makes whoever a dull person or whatever that saying is. So for me, what I do is when I am at home, I am totally present. Once it is whatever time I'm meant to finish work, turn off my computer, and that is it. I do not turn it
Mm.
back on. I do not think about work, and I do not talk about work unless it's utmostly important until the next day. That's what I do
Mm.
on Monday to Friday kind of basis. Weekend, I have fun with my family, go out, do whatever it is I need to do. And if it's holiday time, we go on holidays generally. So for me, it's really, really important. I come from a I'm very family oriented, very family centered. So it's all about hanging out with my family and doing family stuff.
Nice. So when it comes to some of these environments that you work in, obviously you're dealing with a whole plethora of stakeholders. How do you approach like communicating and engaging those members?
Right. So in terms of engaging, so communication comes at different levels. You have different stakeholders, don't you? And the different stakeholders will determine the type of communication and the content, right? So if you are going to be communicating with your team, that's on a very personal one-to-one basis, your team time and all that. So that's a whole different level of communication. Engagement is a whole different ball game, to be very honest, because to engage with your team means you need to know your team. You need to know how they like to communicate, what their what the heartbeat of the team is, because you've got quiet people, you've got people that likes to be heard, you've got people that like to talk, and like people that don't like to say anything. So you need to be able to find a happy medium as to how best to engage with your team. And there are many things you can do. You can do some team activities. Sometimes you can prepare beforehand, always send out an agenda for those that don't like speaking, and ask people their opinion. Never be the sole decision maker, because your job is not to make the decision and everything. So it depends on who the stakeholders are. Senior management is a whole different ball game, because usually the engagement piece with senior management is slightly different from the way you would engage with a team, or even on a one-to-one basis with a team member. So there are basically different ways you have to determine. It is different for different organization, right? So sometimes workshops will do it, sometimes one-to-one, sometimes just having team time, group activities with people will help to, get people to get to know each other, the way you work. And one good thing I have found that works within a team setting is having a social working agreement, whereby the team comes together and decide how they want to work, what
Mm.
are the kind of things they would accept, working time, like, okay, we want to work actively from 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock because we have people offshore, and after 2 o'clock it's gets really late for them. So having that social contract is really, really interesting and important, for the team dynamics. And if one person breaks it, then you know that, okay, everybody can hold that person to account. So stakeholder engagement and communication, it varies
Yeah,
depending on who you're talking to.
sure. How do you go about scaling agile practices for larger teams or organizations?
Oh, that's a very contentious topic. That is very contentious. Oh, Vanessa, you want to put me in trouble here. It's very contentious because different people have different opinions about, what scaling should be.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the frameworks that we've got, how many frameworks that are basically geared towards scaling? You've got SAFe, which I am an SPC, I am a SAFe consultant. You've
Mm.
got what's the other one now? Sorry, give me a second. I think I've just literally run out of. So you've got three. What's the other one called? Less. You've got less, and you've got Scrum of Scrums. And where do I even start? Because they all have different ways and different ways in which they work. Now,
Mm.
I usually go for SAFe because that's where I am more qualified and more I have a lot of knowledge about SAFe, right? And
Mm.
that is the most popular, but a lot of people really don't like SAFe because they just feel that it's waterfall in an agile environment, each to their own, right? But what I say is for an organization to scale, you need to look at your organization and what works for your organization. There are principles you can apply from within the skilled agile framework, SAFe, that you don't necessarily need to apply in another organization. So take what works. There is no one framework fits all kind of approach, right? There's no one way to do scaling. So I think it's more of taking an economic approach and view about discuss the various options, look at what works for your organization. If SAFe works, then by all means go with SAFe. Or if an element of SAFe works, because I've been in organizations where they've decided, okay, we don't want to go full-blown scale, but we will take certain principles from within that framework and we would use it. And by all means, it's worked for the organization. But scaling is a very, very contentious topic within the agile world right now, and it's a conversation that has basically caused a lot of pain, tears, and people just cannot seem to uh cannot seem to agree,
Agree. Yeah.
yeah, on it. But you know what I always say is do what works for your organization.
How do you approach conflict resolution and team dynamics within an agile context?
It's the same way you would basically approach it in any context. So there is no agile way of resolving conflict.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is no, I mean, conflict resolution is something that whoever is in a team setting will have
Mm.
to resolve, irrespective of whether it's an agile project or if it's HR or
Yeah.
whatever it is you're working in. So I think it's just the same approach you would use to
Okay.
you know um deal with conflicts. But one of the
Yeah.
things that I find works is people want to feel listened to.
Mm.
So whatever the conflict is, and that's why it's always good to have a working agreement, right? Because one of the working agreements things would be, how do we resolve conflict, right? Because to be very honest, you don't necessarily always have to agree, but you should be able to come to a concession. You should always be able to come to a concession. You have to be able to agree to disagree, irrespective of what's happening. And while having conflict, which conflict is not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes good tension will produce very good work. So conflict is not necessarily always negative, because sometimes out of conflict births something really, really good, or a resolution to a particular problem that has been um, there for a while. So there is no one way to resolve conflict. But the one thing I would say is, do not take sides. Everybody should be given a fair hearing. And once that has been done, then you should try to be the mediator of peace as
Mm.
opposed to fueling it. Because those two people, or whoever, whatever is causing the conflict, people still need to work together. People still need to work to deliver. So the less tension there is in the team, the better, because it does affect team output as well, or team outcomes.
Sure. And how do you approach the challenge of maintaining momentum for agile practices over time?
Maintaining momentum, as in my interest levels or the way I
Uh,
work, or what do you mean?
for the in terms of the team that you're leading, how do you keep them like um in tune with like all the to like sticking with the practices that you want them to follow?
Well, the whole idea of being an agile coach is to get the team to be self-organizing,
Mm,
right? So um, it's not necessarily my job to keep their momentum going. It's my
yeah.
job to coach them to
Mm,
how to keep their momentum going because they are
mm,
responsible for their work, right? Because you can't take personal responsibility for the way people feel,
yeah.
right? But it's important to acknowledge the way they feel and how that would affect the work.
Hmm.
So it's by coaching the team to becoming a very, very good and in tune with one another, right? Because if you take on that responsibility of you personally keeping the team, you're the heartbeat of the team, everything is around you, you are going to burn out. You will burn out and you will burn out so quickly. So the best thing is create a sense of independence. Let the team be responsible for their work. Let the team be responsible for their decision making. Let the team be responsible for everything they do. You're there as a coach, not as a nanny or a babysitter. It's really important that you get that. So the momentum of the team is totally dependent on the team, not on you as an agile coach.
Hmm.
If not, you'll find yourself in serious trouble because you'll be carrying a lot of emotional baggage from every member of the team. So you can imagine if you have like 10 members in your team or nine, and you're having to do that. So you're carrying everyone's emotional baggage, including yours. You remember, you always have to remember as an agile coach, you're not responsible for delivery. That is why you've got the product owner. That is why you've got the scrum master. So you leverage the people within the team so that the team becomes high functioning and very dependent on themselves, not on you as an agile coach.
Sure. Looking back at your career, is there anything that you wish you'd done differently?
Differently. Let me see. One of the things I wish I had done was I wish I had actually found out about being a scrum master slash agile coach earlier on.
Mm,
Because, and I say that because I feel that I wasted quite a lot of time, but I wouldn't call it waste. When I think about it critically, I think it was preparing me. I would say preparing me for this role as an agile coach, to be very honest. And another thing I think, if I had, from when I left uni, I had been introduced to the world of agile and this way of working and all that, I think I would have fared way better in terms. I wouldn't have had to make a lot of the mistakes I made in terms of my
mm,
learnings, and I think I'll have just cut away all the noise and just gone straight into what I had to do and
mm,
kind of, because I am really enjoying it and I don't think I would change it for anything in the world. But I'm not one to live in regrets, to be very honest.
yeah.
But in all honesty, I think if I had known about it quicker and earlier, I would probably be further on in my journey than I am right now.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much once again, Pamela, for coming on and sharing your career journey and also some industry insights. It's been really great, and I'm sure that those listening or watching will also be able to take um, pointers from your experiences and some of the things that you've shared.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Thank you for having me on the program. And also, just as a closing note from me, the world of agile is changing very quickly because of AI, artificial intelligence, and everything. So it's not just affecting us within, agile, but the whole world basically, as you can know, as you know. So what I would advise or what I would say is, do not stay where you are. Right? Get onto the whole AI world because it would enhance your career because that is the next big thing. And one of the one of the characteristics of a good agile coach, from what your last question, is being able to look at career changes and insights within the agile industry and pivot and add to your new learnings, because you become more marketable and you're able to relate more to your team and everything. So, but it's really, really good. I've had a very good time talking about my career insights, and I hope it's helpful to someone somewhere. And thank you very much.
Great, thank you.